Who was Beethoven? Well, there's a long and there's a short answer to that. The short answer is he was one of the greatest composers who ever lived, one of the most influential musicians who ever lived, and for me, also one of the standout figures in human history. Many of you will have heard the name Beethoven before, and many of you will have heard that he's a legend. But the question is why? What did he do to achieve this status? Well, the short answer is that in the course of his lifetime, he became an incredibly important transitional figure in the history of music. He managed to pick up where his greatest predecessors, Mozart and Haydn, had left off, in forms like the symphony, the sonata, the piano concerto, and in fact, everything they did. He picked up their models and he developed them, but he developed them intensely. He opened the door for all other musicians who came after him. He developed harmony, the sound of the instruments, the form of these different genres, and he expanded them to an extent that made it possible for others who came later to dream big. By the end of his life, in his 9th symphony, he'd expanded the size of the orchestra dramatically. And not only that, he included a choir, he included soloists in his symphony. This had never been done before. And the reason he did it was to express something that was deeply felt to him, his philosophy of life. He introduced the idea that a symphony could not just be beautiful music, but also have a message that transcended that. I know many of you will know that melody. It's from Beethoven's 9th Symphony. It comes in the last movement, and it's not just famous to us all because it's beautiful. It's famous because that little melody changed the course of history. Why? Well, for the first time in history, Beethoven introduced chorus and solo voices into the genre of the symphony. He introduced text for the first time, and not just any text, but a poem by Friedrich Schiller, the Ode to Joy. This poem was important because it was a revolutionary text about the brotherhood of mankind. At a time when the aristocracy was still powerful, the clergy was still powerful, it challenged the foundations of society and of politics. Beethoven spent his whole life believing deeply in these values, and in his final symphony, he shook the foundations of music by saying it cannot just be about sound, it can be about philosophy and mankind, and in fact, the entire universe. And he opened up, for the centuries to come, music to the realm of philosophy and politics. So that's the short answer about why Beethoven was such a legend. In the coming videos, we're going to explore more of his life, his symphonies, his career, and of course, the most extraordinary question: how do you become one of the greatest composers of all time while being deaf?